I didn't need this. I had a great life. This vicious persecution is a travesty of justice.
Less than 72 hours before he's due to appear in court to have his fingerprints and mugshot taken, Trump took to the stage in full flight.
I've put everything on the line and I will never yield. I never yield. I will never be deterred. I will never stop fighting for you.
The enormity of what's alleged is staggering. Trump stands accused of sharing top-secret papers with unauthorised third parties. He's also accused of taking steps to hide papers the FBI had subpoenaed. And here they are, stacked in front of the shower, on the stage of a public ballroom, and spilling from cardboard storage boxes. Just some of the places he was allegedly stashing classified documents, including nuclear, defence and national security files at his Mar-a-Lago resort. Now he's facing 37 federal felony counts, including concealing classified documents, obstructing justice, unlawful retention of national defence information and false statements. And this indictment is only the beginning of Trump's legal woes.
Every time I fly over a blue state, I get a subpoena.
Still facing criminal charges over payments made to Stormy Daniels in New York, he's also under investigation for his role in the January 6th riots and for election interference in Georgia.
We're having waffles for everyone.
So are things finally getting sticky for Teflon Don?
I mean, the only good thing about it is it's driven my poll numbers way up. Can you believe it?
It's amazing that it's not going to change some people's opinion of Trump.
All the other leaders of the countries have got to be looking at our country going, what a joke. We've turned into a banana republic. We're arresting our political allies. How wrong is that? Over paperwork?
Bill Wyman is an American journalist, currently teaching media at the University of Sydney, so we'll claim him as one of our own. Bill, good to see you. Since the indictment has been unsealed over the weekend, is there anything that's really shocked you the most?
Well, the first thing is that, in a weird way, what isn't shocking is the fact that it finally came down. We've basically seen him commit this crime over a long period of time. We have to remember that they asked him for the documents, they subpoenaed the documents, which itself is extraordinary, and then they had to raid his home, which is double plus extraordinary. So that's the one thing. Things are unfolding as they should be. The most shocking thing is probably just how bold-faced it was, that he really is sort of a sociopathic narcissist who just said, no, they're mine, and seemed to have his minions going around protecting them and moving them around. And so to me, the most surprising thing is just how much he has incriminated himself over the past 2 years.
The photos of the files just strewn about Mar-a-Lago have been described as a horror story, a horror movie for national security. How much damage could he do with these documents?
We really don't know, and it's entirely possible that there's been zero. On the other hand, it's well established that every foreign intelligence service knows that Mar-a-Lago is full of these poltroons and crazy people all wandering around. There was one Chinese woman who I think is in jail still. She was caught with about 3 passports in her pocket. Roaming around Mar-a-Lago, so we really don't know that. But then there's just the damage of long-term trust that we have the potential of electing another person who might be this irresponsible with secrets in the future.
Hey, Bill, what's the time frame here? Because Trump is facing a serious jail term. I mean, could he be president before having to face any kind of sentence? Or if it goes the other way and he faces some kind of sentence, what will that then do to his campaign for the presidency?
It's really crazy. The American Constitution is very clear about who can become president. You have to be 40 years old, and that's about it. And a native-born American. It doesn't say anything that, oh, if you've been in jail, you can't be president or anything like that. So technically nothing. I don't think anyone thinks that this case can be resolved in the next 2 years.
Right.
So it's entirely possible it can be going on through the Republican primaries and through the general election. But that's the way the American system works. If you remember last year, he caught COVID, not last year, but in 2020, he caught COVID just before the election. And there was some worry about what happened if he passed away, 3 weeks before the election. And, well, there's still going to be an election in that. There would have still been an election in that case, and there will still be an election if he happens to be the Republican nominee in either indictment, in trial, or actually convicted, or actually conceivably in prison.
Trump's allies have been reminding us that some of his supporters are armed, but there's also been calls for uprising and revolution as he goes to court. What's the likelihood, do you think, of more violence on the streets over some of what's associated with
it's scary and it's wrong. That stuff that Carrie Lake said yesterday about there's a lot of people with Second Amendment or, you know, whatever, armed, ready to support him. But I have to say, we saw what happened to the January 6th people. A lot of them are facing many, many years jail time. A lot of his supporters aren't the sharpest rakes in the shed, but I think they can kind of understand that this sort of insurrection is putting people in prison for a long time. So, and also, they're not the most organized group, really. You know, he lost the last election. People can kind of see what the arc.
But for all of that, aren't they incredibly successful at what they do? I mean, this guy has a way of grabbing the story. You know, it's all about... We're still way away from the election, but the story is about Trump.
No, it's really true. He's a genius at it.
We're just falling into the same trap again of dismissing him.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm saying the specific thing of violence I don't think is I mean, I just don't think we're going to see a whole bunch of violence about this. But no, it's I think that the 2020 election was crazier than the 2016 election. The fact that he nearly got reelected is even crazier than the fact he got elected in the first place. So I'm not ruling anything out. On the other hand, he did lose the last election. He hasn't really improved his standing among independent voters in the time since. He could be indicted 2 more times in the next year as well, on federal charges again and then on state charges. So I don't see his base of support expanding. But again, I agree with you. We've seen worse. Some of the documents that are alleged to have been taken, you know, things like nuclear secrets, invasion plans of Iran, people are saying. I got a question for you. Are you glad you moved to Australia? America is a wonderful country. I would never say anything against it. No, sincerely, I really wouldn't. And it is an extraordinary country. It's also one of those countries that has the capacity to be kind of crazy, which it is right now. I found Australians to be incredibly welcoming. I found the Australian media to be incredibly sophisticated, and I've been impressed by it uniformly. No,
you don't need to suck up to it.
You're here now. You're here. We welcome you.
I'm a media critic. I would be totally happy to say the opposite, sincerely. So it's been a wonderful time here, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. So,
right.
So yes.
Yeah, that's a yes. Bill Wyman, thanks so much for chatting.
Thanks for having me.